Oh, if they,
Start with the pledge of allegiance, please. Take your right.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Making sure that everyone is signed in for tonight's meeting. Anyone that has not signed in, please, we'll give you a clipboard and sign in. Everyone's signed in, all right. Number 3, approval of the October regular board meeting agenda. I'll entertain a motion. A motion and a second to approve the October regular board meeting agenda. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Approve the agenda. Approval, are you not accepting these? Okay. Okay, we can table, make a motion. Yep. We're gonna hold off on the September meeting minutes yet for this meeting, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to table them.
I make a motion to table the August regular board meeting minutes.
You can do both of this.
Oh, and the September regular board meeting minutes.
And Nelson.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table the approval of the August regular board meeting minutes, September regular board meeting minutes. All those in favor? All those opposed? They're tabled. All right, rules of participation. Just let everyone know, a public comment or any kind of comment by anybody, we just expect it to be respectful and keep it brief, something like 2 to 3 minutes. Also, I would please ask that before you speak, you mention your name, state your name and address. Well, usually that's how I did it at the county, but address would be nice. And also, please wait to speak until you've been recognized by the chair. Okay? Thank you very much. Now, we are at number 7, rule or public comment. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak about something that is not on the agenda for this evening? Yes, sir.
My name is Steve Longtime. I live at 16166W Deer Lane, Hayward. And I'm here to address the board, knowing that you as the chairman are, well, my understanding is you are in charge of running an orderly meeting, and every one of the board members has one vote. Understanding, right? Correct? As I've been to a few of these meetings, I see you, Chairman, Mr. Chairman, shutting down the voices of our board members, aggressive behavior towards our board members, creating an environment in this town that's described as chaotic. I think you have your own agenda on a lot of things. The town supervisor and the town patrolman have been to Kane's house, John Lisa's house, probably 10 times, a lot of them at your discretion, for things that are, I don't think, very important. Driveways, irrigation, fences that they put up for construction, a blow-up Santa, a shed that had to be moved. We spent a lot of town legal fees on this, I believe, somewhere north of $7,000. And is in my understanding and my belief that as citizens of this town, in the best interest of the town members and the board members and the employees, I'm asking you to resign. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment and for giving us some perspective. Does anyone else like to comment on their public comment? Yes.
Lisa Nasser, I reside in the town of Hayward, 12471 LaRush Road. And we're the two that are building the house on West Lane, across the street from Ben Kurzweil. We bought the vacant property across the street from him about 3 years ago. Since that date, he's made every step of the building process a costly one for Sawyer County residents and the town of Hayward residents. We've obtained permits as needed, written and verbal permission from county and town staff. Mr. Kurzweil has called the county offices nearly 100 times, the DNR, the town of Hayward numerous times, We've not received one citation. He has a personal vendetta against us. He does not want a house built across the street from his. His appointment as Town of Hayward chairperson, he's abused his power in so many ways. I made a recent request to the town, which has uncovered a large amount of taxpayers' money being spent on legal fees for Mr. Kurzweil's own benefit. He spent over $7,100 on legal fees regarding our driveway and irrigation system in August and September, which is across the street from him. Mr. Lang and Chief Kosterman have made at least 10 visits to our property regarding complaints from Mr. Kurzweil. He's obsessed with us, but you don't have to take my word for this. Talk to county and town staff. Know where Mr. Kurzweil is spending your tax dollars, over $7,000 in the past 2 months. He's used his position to harass us at the expense of Town of Hayward residents. Ben Kurzweil, you're vindictive and selfish. You're not serving the public, and you need to go.
I guess I should have prefaced this to the public comment. Can we please refrain from any unsubstantiated accusations? Now, again, I'll just say this. I don't even have the information of the $7,000, so you guys all seem to be better informed than I am. Would anyone else like to take a shot at the public comment? Sure.
I have not gone to all, Nancy Schreier, 10777 North Mount Common Lane. I'm really here about the airport issues, and I've not gone to all of the meetings. I think we're starting to go to all the meetings now, because this would be the third time that we're gonna have a town chairperson. I don't know, all I know is that I called the town, my neighbors and I called the town a week and a half ago. We talked to the chair. We had a lot of concerns about the airport. He came and spent 2 hours of his time sitting with us, listening to our concerns. So there's a good side to this too, I see, that we've not had before.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, very good. Now we can move on. Number 8 would be any zoning issues from the planning commission. We have none this month. Number 9, monthly report from the highway department.
Rob, when I was at the Wisconsin Towns Association meeting this weekend, the gentleman assured me that our truck will be here and ready for you before the snow, so you can plow.
They don't want to start snowing here.
But he said it's in and they're working on it, and that you should have it before the snow flies.
Wow. 10 days.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd let you know that.
Kathy is not here.
No.
Could you tell her, thank you for our work on our boat landings and in our parks. She does a magnificent job at the transfer station.
Yep.
Thank you.
I will let her know.
Thank you.
Okay, number 10, fire department, Mr. Hamlin with his monthly report. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hamlin?
Thank you for what you do.
Okay, number 11, planning commission, Mark Turner monthly report. There was no issues in front of the planning commission. So report. Number 12, police department, Chief Crossman. Does anyone have any questions for Chief Crossman?
Hey, John, quick question. I was thinking more about the conversation we had earlier with the tax season coming upon us. I think I would like to have a bottle of Narcan available in our office.
Okay.
as we start punching more money in mail.
Sure, I can read that.
Thank you.
That's step two. Sometimes first one.
Okay, well, this professional gentleman here said I should have two.
That's step two, okay.
I see that Chief Councilman also put the ordinance in here establishing the police department for us to review. And it states clearly that the town board shall have the authority to administer the police department, except as to those specific functions delegated to the committee. So this is, are we gonna go into this conversation?
Do you wanna wait till next month when all the rest of the police stuff is on here? I mean, or do you want me to go into this?
Well, we can,
I mean,
we have the police commission.
so would you like to read verbatim what the highlighted section is at the bottom that you're looking for?
The ordinance is attached.
Okay, well, I'm not.
And I'm just
what would you
letting
want-
the
what would you
audience
like to-
know that you attach the ordinance.
There is a misspelling.
Oh. Any further discussion? All right, moving on to 13, Facilities Planning Committee. Monthly report and recommendations to the town board regarding facility. Gabrielle, you
No,
presented.
it's not available tonight, so I'm
Thank you.
trying to let my way through. We had a facility meeting, planning committee meeting after the presentation from Ross Anderson. In the meeting, there were more questions raised that we were trying to answer, and I'm still waiting to get the hold of Ross Anderson. I'm working with Fran to resolve the communication issue with them right now. The other main thing, Brenda has brought up a new avenue of potential funding, and we want to wait on that as well until we get some more information to see if that is viable for us. We have the resignation of our secretary, Karen Boyle. Poland has resigned, and so we have an open position to fill. And I think the application for the opening has to go to the board. So if anybody is interested, we need a good secretary, please apply to the board. There, I believe we do have forms here.
Yep.
One more thing. We have discussed the direction of the facility planning committee. There are several options on the table or have been brought to our attention, and one of the options was to build on a different location. We looked into how this needs to be working from a perspective of how we need to react to it as the committee. And we were instructed that we need to follow the original instructions, which were directed to remodel or rebuild on the current location until the board decides and advises the committee otherwise. So if the committee would consider that and decide if we, until we hear different, we will pursue with building on this location.
I'd like to speak to the comment. I did pursue funding because I'm a tightwad, and if I can find money to help us build a facility, I have a couple of avenues, or build or remodel or whatever we do. On October 17th, I contacted directly the head of UW Extension.
September.
Pardon?
September. I think everybody.
Oh, October 17th, sorry.
September. Because it's like,
When did you? No, I contacted him, but let me finish. October 17th, we have to set up a Zoom meeting on that date, because that is the date that they can both be there. One is a legal counsel, and he's part of, what they do is they not only educate government officials, but they also are very familiar with, there's some new grant money coming out. And I went to the educational thing from the Department of Revenue and they spoke about this and but it was like, it should have been a 2-hour session and she talked so fast and in the notes, I tried to take the notes, but anyway, there's several different categories if you combine, even tourism is an option, or fire department, or police and rescue. So there's several different options and I'm waiting to get further information. But if we combine services or some type of thing with another township or municipality, they're encouraging that, and there is monies available just for the planning process of that. But the deadline, the monies are, like you have to, it's like November, and then you have to have it finished by February. And this just came out, and they don't even have it all defined yet. So I can't foresee that we would be able to, but I still want them to educate. So I wanted to set up this meeting to educate people so people can zoom into the meeting because they will be zooming in. I know it's October 17th because
Except during the day.
it's going to be like 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. And they'll discuss different options in this new grant funding that's coming available. And in the meantime, I want to research some other questions for them of other monies that are available to us. Because if we can get money to help us do whatever we decide to do, the first grant money is like 10 million. The second is 300 million that's been set aside.
But not just for us.
No, but most of the time that money goes south, not north. So if we can do something to try to get that money to come north, I've done whatever I can with my magic words to make that try to happen with them. But anyway, when we get more information, I think I'll have,
I went to that class too.
okay, different time frame, yeah, but she talks.
So it's all gonna be on your website.
Yep, it is.
Eventually.
But the October 7th meeting between Bill Omican, is that how you pronounce his name? And Carl Green, they're both work for the UW Extension in Madison, and their job is local governments, funding and stuff like that. So can we post that on our website when we have it defined as to when, and like a Zoom?
So
There's-
hopefully we'll have some more information from them at that time for
They're
everyone, so.
in so many places doing so many things, it's very difficult to set this time.
Well, there is a local person in this, and that's Ariga up at the courthouse.
Right.
And she is the local contact for that, so she can help us work through some of that. It sounded to me like the most solid contact we would have would be with police and fire. Where if we can get, because that's the easiest one to join with another township, and that's the critical part, is that it has to join in services and save money.
Right.
So you have to, that's the
Right.
hardest
It
part.
might be a high bar.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Very high
saying
bar.
that people have information anyway, and at least we'll be better informed.
It was also, they mentioned, storm shelter. Yeah, it's for a storm shelter, tornado shelter.
Which we at one time talked about having that included in the community center. So at
Or a
least
library.
have an emergency center.
Okay, on to number 14 then, the fire department ordinance. This is something that we need to get really rectified by the November meeting. It's something that we discovered a long time ago, or a couple months ago, that we've been trying to work on. I think it's pretty important to get it done. So would anyone on the board like to start working on it more, or if anyone has, or should we maybe turn it over to legal to have him work on what we have, flush some things out? What would the board like to do?
Andy retyped it already, so it can be formatted properly, as I did the different police things, because it's such an old format of Word that you have to retype it, otherwise it didn't align properly on pages. So Andy has actually retyped it and made it more amenable to make corrections. And I guess I would prefer that we don't just send the whole thing to legal without doing some of our own homework, because that's bring up our legal fees even more.
Do we feel we can get this, we'll get something done, that, we still have to get it checked by legal anyway before we approve it. Do we feel that we can make some significant progress before the November meeting and get
I
it?
don't think
Or
that's
one or two of us
possible
join together.
before November too. It's very complex.
And that's why maybe legal would be the best person, because again, we have a fire department right now, again, that's a municipal fire department with no ordinance actually saying that. So I think it's something that really this should be on the front burner, I think.
I would
Something
like,
we should do.
I would like to meet sometime very soon and at least sit down and batter out which parts of that ordinance are unnecessary for our purposes. The fire department has a pretty comprehensive policy manual and a handbook. Their policies and procedures are substantiated by state law. And I think what our ordinance needs to do is it needs to bring in those state statutes, because those are not clearly represented in that ordinance.
I also retyped some of it and added, and I did add some of the state statutes. So,
Okay, so I guess does everyone agree this is a pretty high priority item? Like,
Absolutely.
we agree.
I mean, so,
But it
Can we-
doesn't need to go to
can we-
Beagles,
okay, do we think we
not,
can,
not at this point.
okay, do we think that we can make significant progress before the November meeting?
We can. If we work really hard, we can.
Okay.
Why don't you bring what you have to the November meeting and we'll look it over and
I
if
sent
need,
it, I thought I sent it to everybody.
right,
So
but
you have
we
it
could bring it to the November meeting. And if it's not ready, we keep working on it. But I think sending it to legal is just incurring more expense that we don't
Yes.
need.
Well, and again, this was brought up to me initially, by the clerk a number of months ago before we started working on it. I believe it was, that maybe we should have Chris or
I said
legal.
before we
Write
approve it,
it.
I think
Right.
we should.
Okay, well, I guess I'm still even proffering that he would write
That
the whole
would
thing
be
from
hours.
scratch, which I don't think is necessary, but maybe we give him our template and he can kind of flesh some things out if we're missing something that he feels is important. I mean, okay, so we're gonna hold off on that until the November meeting, I guess, and hopefully make some progress this next week, correct?
To make some progress, but it's pretty technical stuff.
Okay, so if we don't understand it, it's too technical for us to
No,
understand.
I
or
was
get
just
done.
saying, we'll work on it.
They're just saying that you have to
I'll make sure hard copies get to everybody.
And I'll email the portion that I added a couple of statutes and changed, so you have both.
And I guess, I don't wanna really have to mention that, but I guess my concerns are, if something, God forbid, happens on a fire call with either the firefighters or residents in the house, will the town's insurance cover that fire department? Because we don't,
Yes.
yeah, we talked to the insurance company, because we don't have an actual ordinance making a municipal fire department. So that's why I felt that this is a very important thing that something we should.
I agree that it's a very important thing, but I think it's gone since 1965.
Right.
And I think
I
mean,
mean,
we don't
1994,
Be done right.
1994, because they
1994.
dissolved the nonstop.
But we need also to address in that police and fire committee, which we do not have.
Do you wanna do that first?
Those are two.
I had a talk with Mr. Hanlon, and he was again mentioning the idea of a fire department committee, maybe even to work on the fire department ordinance. And I said I would mention it, but I guess that idea is out there too, of creating a fire department committee to actually work on the fire.
Well, we have that. We're supposed to have that. But we don't have volunteers to sit on it, and it clearly says that board members should not sit on that committee.
I guess no one's offered because we don't have one, so it's really hard to offer. But I
It's
mean,
there, it's the same one that's on
we don't have a fire department.
well, police commission, but it's police and fire is.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we have what we have.
Currently, we have.
Yeah, we have things, but not a fire department. So,
I will dedicate some time to that. I spent a lot of hours on police thing. You know, and the template.
Fire one might have been a more important one, but now
Well-
it's on the front burner now and we can deal with it, so. All right, number 15, driveway ordinance. So this is something that came up last month. at the behest of the board, that they wanted on the agenda to discuss changing the driveway ordinance, I thought. Also, since we had some public comment tonight that broached on the subject, I'm just gonna give everyone a little history lesson here, of what this whole situation is about. Yes, Supervisor Detloff.
We forgot to accept the resignation of Karen and make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went right to the fire department ordinance
I'm
before
sorry.
that.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Karen Boyd.
And as a member?
And thank you for your service, Karen,
Yes, thank
stepping up for facility committee.
I'll second that.
All right, you have a motion and a second to approve the resignation of Secretary Karen Morgan from the facility committee. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you for reminding us about this. All right, driveway ordinance. Again, I'm just gonna say this about some of the public comments that were made too. I guess it kind of coincides. Ms. Nasser's property was issued a driveway permit in June of '23. And our driveway ordinance has a maximum width of 24 feet. It says it twice in the ordinance. On May 14th, 24, our highway supervisor had an agreement and wrote on the permit to okay a 32-foot width. The blacktop was installed August 13th, 2024, and it was actually 35 feet wide. And again, from my information, it was verbally okayed on that same day as being 35 feet wide. So, as a chairman, when I look out my front window and see ordinance violations, what am I supposed to do? If we don't enforce them, what does that say about me? If I do enforce them, people think I'm taking them out. That's the issue. And to be honest with you, the driveway ordinance right now is being enforced on this property. Okay, so again, the board wants to discuss now maybe potentially changing parts of the driveway ordinance. So I guess that's what we're here tonight to discuss, what parts of the driveway ordinance we feel we should change. Does anyone have any comments or suggestions? Sure. Brenda.
I think that our emergency services say 20 feet wide, and then we're saying 24 feet wide. I think there should be more of a variance because as long as it meets the certain grade level that's required by the highway department, the head of the highway department, Rob Lane, and meets the criteria that, so it doesn't drain out onto the road and become a problem. I think he's the one with the expertise and the purview to determine that. I mean, I don't know about the roads, I think there's a conflict. We're saying 20 feet here, and then we say 24 feet in our ordinance.
You're saying a minimum of 20 feet to allow emergency vehicles, but a maximum of 24 feet for your driveway width.
No, I'm saying a minimum of 20 feet
Okay.
and potentially more as a maximum if they have enough property and they want a wider driveway, I think they should have that option. And I also think, looking at our permit, the backside of our permit, there's just a general form permit does not coincide at the moment with our current driveway ordinance as it is. So I think we should have a specific permit that is created that actually is married and says exactly what our ordinance says, because they're in conflict right now. There's a lot of conflict in that ordinance.
Right. You gotta do two reports.
Well, I'm just talking about the back of the permit to
Yeah,
that.
right. You just said a lot. So I mean, that's one. I agree that the back of the permit should state
Right,
what the ordinance says. I mean, that's
right.
a given.
And I think that, I believe it's already been being worked on.
What?
Working on changing it and correcting.
Who's doing that?
I would think the supervisor. Rob, are you working on that?
Yes.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Okay.
Okay. So we decided to change the width of the driveways now.
Well, I'm not giving.
No, I'm just asking, is that what we're changing? We felt that the 24 feet
I'm
is
just
too
saying
narrow.
it is in conflict.
Well, I'm just asking what Supervisor Detloff would say. Yes, Andy?
I was thinking about it today. One of my issues was town roads with horseshoe driveways, which are identified in here. Horseshoe driveways are not legal, while other land uses shall be permitted a maximum of one driveway having an access width of 24 feet. we have to decide whether we're going to have them or not have them, because wherever I go, I see horseshoe driveways. And the other part of that is we need to consider the end of my road has a horseshoe driveway. There's UPS trucks, because it's a small business being run out of that home. There's UPS trucks in and out, in and out, in and out. And a UPS truck is a big vehicle. You have to literally stop on Highway 77 when the UPS truck, which is always in a big rush, is coming out of our Sawmill Road, which is too narrow for a UPS truck and a vehicle. And when you have larger vehicles now that we've had in the past, I mean, I think it's time for us to upgrade the entire policy, the ordinance. I just find many things in here that conditions that the permittee indicated on the permit represents all parties in interest, and that any driveway or approach constructed by and or for him for him or her, is for the bona fide purpose of providing access to his/her property. Who cares if it's his or her property? Is there a difference? No, we don't need that. And not for the purpose of parking or servicing vehicles, or for advertising, storage, or merchandising goods on the highway right-of-way. We have other ordinances that deal with that. So there's so much more involved here that this ordinance is out of date. It needs to be updated. And I think it should be remanded to the ordinance committee. And I understand our ordinance committee is a busy place, but it's time. It's time. We've got to start doing that. The whole issue of whether or not there's a turnaround at the end of a dead-end road. I don't see them out there. I go out and drive around all of these private roads, and I'm not seeing turnarounds at dead ends.
Well, we should create an ordinance committee too, because we have so many of these ordinances that people are saying they have conflicting language and need to clean up. And I am all for clarifying ordinances. I'm just not, I guess, it's just part of me is that we just talked about a driveway issue of being too wide, and now it seems like we're talking about changing the width of it while enforcement's in progress. So that could be a little bit of a tricky situation too.
I just feel like we have to move forward, because there's always going to be a driveway. There's always going to be violations, and we're going to have to deal with that, not on a situation by situation necessarily. We need to first deal with the ordinance and then move forward.
I agree.
And it would have been nice if we'd have had enforcement, if we have all these violations that are out there. This ordinance was written in 2014. And I guess my idea is it would just be good if we have our ordinances enforced as they're written. If there is someone who does an illegal driveway or too wide, we should be enforcing it as opposed to letting them accumulate and then talk about changing it. But that's just my opinion.
Well, that would be fine if the board didn't change every couple years.
The ordinances were the same.
The ordinances may stay the same, but new boards want to make changes to the ordinance. We need to update the ordinance. I think 10 years is plenty of time to reconsider. And this one definitely, because of the changes in vehicles, the changes in proclivities, house sizes, everything, we need to reconsider it.
And
home businesses are such a huge thing in this community.
So we want to authorize driveway width based on how many.
I didn't say it.
No, I'm just asking if we're talking about UPS or FedEx going in there, so we're gonna take that into account.
Well, yes, of course we would.
Okay. Interesting. All right, well, should we talk about this next agenda, or do we have, again, this sounds like if we're gonna try to make everything compatible and not contradictory through the ordinance, this is gonna take some time too. And the fire department ordinance, we need to work on too, so.
Ordinance is something that we are responsible, as the board, we are responsible for those ordinances. As I have said over and over, this board has just a few responsibilities. And our responsibilities are making sure that our ordinances are up to date, that our ordinances are enforceable, and that we have the people and the ability to enforce reasonable, thoughtful ordinances. And we need to have public hearings. You can't just change, I'm not gonna sit down and rewrite this without a public hearing. Somebody's gotta sit down and say, hey, wait, you didn't think about this. Hey, wait, you didn't think about that.
I guess I think I kind of looked at what Rob has already been working on, and he's looked at many other townships. He's looked at the county. He's done his due diligence. I think it's his purview. I don't understand road stuff. To have him do what he did and then have the committee look
Being
at
that
it.
he has to enforce it, yes.
But that's what I feel is the most efficient, because he has the knowledge. We don't in that purview, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
he's already worked on it.
I totally agree, but there's only one Rob. There are 3 members of his department, and we're going into snow season. So he's gonna start being busy too, and he's got other activities. This board needs to work with him and get that done. I would never exclude a department head from that process.
And 2 things. One, I don't think he enforces the ordinance, that's the chief that enforces them.
I think I read it somewhere.
And 2, I just want this for, so we have this all up there. I mean, again, the permit in question that we were talking about had the wrong legal description.
I don't think we were talking
No,
about that.
because again, if we have Rob writing the ordinance, he's the one who just actually okayed a violation of the ordinance, and now you guys had him changing the ordinance. That just seems kind of,
I don't have a problem with that at all.
I'm sure, okay, well, that
I think
just
it's
seems
an
a little.
information, but we were not clearly informing our staff about what our wishes were. And we don't
Follow
care
the
for it.
ordinances.
We don't agree with it.
All right, so how's our priority level on this one compared to a fire department one?
I think
Fire department's
if Rob is already working on it, I think we take our suggestions, our thoughts to Rob and let Rob work on it.
And if we've already spent $7,100
I don't know
on
that.
legal fees,
If you have that
Then,
information, that'd be great.
I think it would be, that's kind of
But this is-
ups it on the priority.
No, just if we're talking about the $7,000 that I'm unaware of.
So
The
it's
two
only,
things, excuse me, Andy, the 2 things that we had checked with legal was our driveway ordinance, which our lawyer okayed enforcement of it in this situation, and the highway excavation ordinance, which we have a situation we're trying to figure out how to properly approach that. So that is the majority of the things, because people were confused over those ordinances, so that was what I talked to legal about. So I am sorry that there were some legal bills included, it was because people had legal questions, and I felt that the lawyer should be the one answering them, not myself. Which goes to the board?
Some of these ordinance things.
Ordinance things, I'm not changing
Legal
ordinances.
questions.
The questions are coming from employees, because they felt
No,
they
they're
did,
coming from you then.
well, they felt
The
that
last
this was,
bill.
they, please. All right, let's,
$300 in 20 days over the easiest.
again, two ordinances that people had confusion about, so we had legal double check. B, volunteer fire fund ordinance discussion only, this is again, on par with,
Excuse me.
are we going to vote on it?
No.
Well, I would just like to ask Rob if he would want to continue working on the driveway ordinance and bring it to the November meeting for discussion and possible action, maybe moving it to a public hearing to review and ask the public if they have any questions on it.
Certainly, great idea.
Thank you, Rob.
Do we have to make a motion?
no.
We don't have agenda for discussion. B, volunteer firefighter fund ordinance, discussion only. Again, this is with the fire department ordinance stuff. I will take this one on and provide some type of a framework that I will get to the board in the next week or so, to have you guys peruse it first, and then we can send that, with everything else legal eventually or whatever, but I will take that one on, and if someone else would like to work on it too, that's great. Otherwise, like I said, I will try to provide a draft, of that wording in next week, so.
What's that for?
That is for the bank account that the fire department has.
And this is something we don't have currently.
We do not have anything currently.
Were you able to check with any other towns that have that?
I did.
Because maybe they have one that we can just template.
I have a template floating around somewhere in my inbox, and if I find that, I should be able to get it to you shortly. But I believe I do have a template floating around. Any other discussion on the volunteer fire fund? Okay, C, airport. Just to preface this, now, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone on the board. This first part, rezone, everybody knows that airport expansion plans going on. There's a lot of information going around out there, a lot of misinformation, a lot of some correct information. From what I understand, back in 2019, Sawyer County rezoned a portion of the airport with a parcel that had a portion of it west of Airport Road, okay, near Namacoggin Lane, I believe. And they did not notify the property owners, they did not notify the town had nothing to do with it, they just rezoned it from residential to industrial. So this is our first question tonight, is to, if the board would like to ask the county to please rezone that property back to what it was in 2019 before they did it without notifying anybody. This would also probably make it more difficult for the county to perhaps expand hangars west of Airport Road, because there are some plans that they would actually build hangars west of Airport Road and reroute Airport Road where Namacoggin Lane is now. And there would be a couple sharp turns to get it around there. I guess this was something that was brought up to me by some residents, and again, looking at the situation, since the county did this without notifying anybody, I think it's a reasonable ask to ask them to change it back to what it was before they did it. Does anyone in the audience like to add to any of this?
If I could, yes.
Sure, please, state your name, please.
My name is Ron Ulmer. I live at 10713 Namacoggin Lane, right on the bend. In 1996, the airport had a plan to start expanding and to accept public funds, federal funds. It was called the ILS, or Instrument Landing Opportunities. And at that time, they wanted to close Airport Road and put 52 hangars on a 9-acre piece of property west of Airport Road and adjacent to Namacoggin Lane. The neighborhood was very upset with that. We were told we would build our houses. I've been there 29 years, and the people were there much longer than that. That was a buffer zone. That property had been given to the county. The airport was on the west side of Airport Road. And they went ahead with it, and Don Dratine, who was both the chair of the town of Hayward as well as the county supervisor, finally, after all the public hearings, made a motion that there would be no airport development west of Airport Road, which gave us great relief. And as the chairman said, in 2019, another step in there, in 2002, 2 years later, they attempted to close Airport Road between Namacoggin Lane and Hospital Road, leaving the people on the far end only being able to go out one way and leaving us to be able to go out one way, and taking away a major transportation route of Airport Road going from 63 to 77. There was an engineering firm that did an environmental assessment on that. Obviously, it was turned down. The DNR, the Wild River, and others said we cannot have that kind of impervious surface and that kind of runoff and that kind of commotion taking place, and that got put on board. Tomorrow night, at the Public Works Committee meeting, the engineering firm that is doing the plan paid for by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation is giving his final recommendation, which once again recommends closing Airport Road between Namacoggin Lane and Hospital Road, and putting hangars on that side of the road and making that part of the property. What we're talking about in this last rezoning 5 years ago, they used a state law which says that because it's county-owned property, they don't have to notify anybody. They just have to post it publicly in a newspaper or something to that effect. Now, if anybody in this room went into the rezoning of property, particularly taking it from R1 to industrial, a massive jump at that level, they would have to send a notification to people within 300 feet of the property. But we went in and asked for a list of that, so we didn't do that. We used the state law that allows us now. all that property on the east side was agricultural zoning. So for them to try to put all their property under one zoning industrial makes all the sense in the world. But they jumped across Airport Road and took that 9 acres and took it from residential zoning to industrial zoning. I won't go through all of the objections on the 8 counts. It says zoning is the vehicle by which public bodies can best handle land use. And there's no compatibility of the land use of 45-foot high box hangers right across the road from my driveway. Of sliding doors going open, of the runoff, of the fumes and all this. I don't want to go into all those things because that's an assessment process. Jay Kozlowski at the zoning, at the county zoning, simply said, the only people that could rezone that, we've gone way beyond the 30 days of doing any kind of appeal. So the way you can do is the county would have to instigate a zoning, putting that to some other use other than industrial. I don't care if it's parkland. Nobody's going to build a house there. Everybody wants to build a house. So it's only 9 acres, and it would definitely stop the intrusion, the expansion of airport uses closer to our residential neighborhood and closer to the river and things like that. And that's, these people are affected on both sides of the river, not just the 9 houses on the other side of the lake. They're affected by this in a lot of ways. So we would like to have the town be the instigating agent of sending that request to the county board, that they would consider rechanging that, and then we can go in with all the assessment impacts that we feel are there.
Ron, can I ask a question?
Sure.
What I don't understand, and many people are asking, is who is instigating this? Is this coming from the state wants a bigger airport here for a hub reason? Are they trying to expand Hayward as a
Well, yes.
business opportunity?
The impetus is there are much larger jets landing today, which require a different level of runway system than they have. And of course, then they're piggybacking on that, more hangars, more hangars, more hangars, more hangars. But the consultant who's writing the plan will tell you that the conditions on what they can do at this airport now are really run by the federal government and not by the local community. And the federal government insists for them to be flying in a certain classification of airplanes. Once it gets to so many uses, then they have to continue the contract they have with the FAA. They have to do certain things.
Is there any way that our senator could intervene in this process?
And what?
Our senator?
When it comes to funding, of course.
I mean, do we have to do it? I mean, is that what you're
I
saying?
don't
is that
believe we have to do it. That's not for me to answer tonight. I'm not an expert on that. I don't know if anybody else has that feeling. But
I believe during the initial the initial public meeting that they had at the county, to answer your question, the way I understood it was, no, we may choose not to do it, or the county may choose not to do it, but then that could eliminate us from federal funding down the road, and we would be out of compliance. So there's a risk that we would be out of compliance based on their findings of the needs of our.
And if we're out of compliance, with the research I did, and I had to go to the Bureau of Aeronautics and the DOT down in Madison to look at this, is that the general rule of thumb is that these grant assurances are good for 20 years. If the town, let's say, took out a grant assurance and in year 5, did the project that they took that grant assurance money for, but then, did not complete the rest of their requirements, they may be on the hook to repay some of that grant insurance. Now, I've been hearing for a year, it's millions of dollars we got to repay. However, the real answer is nobody knows exactly. Even the DOA says it could be potentially 0. And according to the county accountant, Mike Margaret, it's typically about 15 to 20% of the money that we have on that grant. He provided me yesterday information going back to 2013, how much the county has spent on certain things. I'm still trying to work on how much the state or feds have given the airport in the last 20 years. But it's not that much money. We're talking $600,000 is what the county has spent on their projects. They may have to refund, maybe if I'm reading the information right. I'm still waiting for more information from the BOA, the Bureau of Aeronautics. I also found out that since the inception of the airport, there was $14 million total given to the airport from the feds and $3 million from the state. So a total of $17 million going back 55 years. There's no way we're gonna have to repay all that money. This brings me into the further things I want to talk about, is that one of the other things that part D on this was nobody, even the Kaufman Associates did this plan, neglected to do what would be the worst case scenario of no action plan. Now, we're not talking shutting down the airport. Let's say we just are not going to expand, and we may, again, not be available for more federal grants. But if we did have to repay money, what would be the worst case scenario? Nobody at the county knows. I talked to the county administrator and accounting. They sent me to the DOA, and they're working on stuff yet. And I'm not sure when or if I'll get it. But nobody knows for sure, which I find kind of odd. And I thought that was another thing that maybe the county Hayward could ask the county. Hey, could we, before you guys pick something, could we just find out what the worst case scenario would be if we did a no action plan? I mean, and again, if it's a large amount of money, I'm sure a lot of residents say, well, we don't want to pay that. Let's just keep going forward. But I think it's all information we should have. And I find it kind of distressing that nobody at the county has any idea how much money they've ever taken in from the feds or state, or how much they have.
To that point, one of the conversations that question was kind of broached at that larger meeting with the county, was that last fall about this time?
It's March 6th.
And the consultant at that time said, so he gave an example of an airport that did just that. And it wasn't the fact that they chose not to, it was the fact that they literally couldn't. They boxed themselves in. And I believe that was Scottsdale. Scottsdale, Arizona. They had built homes, condos, whatever, in these areas where they said, well, you'd have to expand. And they said, well, we're not moving these people out of these condos. We're not making this happen. They technically operate today out of compliance.
Out of what?
Out of they're operating today out of compliance with the FAA.
So
But
just so
that's
you know,
not
there's
the
other.
question- That's not the issue. The issue is we still need to know the cost benefit analysis of this entire thing.
100%. I'm just saying that it has happened.
We can do a no action plan and still operate as an airport, is what she's saying. So yeah, we can do that.
And-
Sorry, Nancy, go ahead.
May I address Andrea's question? I did, after that March 6th meeting, I did contact senators. I contacted the governor. I contacted the Department of Justice. I contacted the Attorney General. They all sent, each one responded very nicely, told me I had to take it back to town and county government. Now, the only other thing that leads us to the other issue is if we would have an environmental impact study done before this plan is approved by the Public Works Committee and then the county supervisor meeting.
Thank you, Nancy. That was the other part. Again, we have a three-part thing here. We're asking to rezone this property back to what they changed it to, the county changed it before 2019. We potentially are asking them for a cost analysis with a no action plan, and we're potentially asking them, I read through the plan too, they talk about environmental assessment needed to be done. But the idea of the county right now is we pick a plan and then do an environmental assessment. Doesn't it make more sense to do an environmental assessment of the property and then pick a plan? Because what if we pick plan 3 and then we do an environmental assessment and say, oh my God, we're gonna be mitigation to all these wetlands. I mean, to me, it just makes more sense. If we're gonna do an environmental assessment and spend that kind of money, which is gonna be a lot of money, why don't they do that first to help them determine which plan? And right now, it seems like they're gonna do the plan first and then the environmental assessment, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So those are the 3 issues that I thought I should bring in front of the board, the town of Hayward, to see what the board felt, if we should ask the county these 3 things.
Can I ask another question? In that environmental impacts, also, what's brewing around in my head is, we have a bridge there, that if you increase the traffic on that bridge, you're talking about all these different plans for rerouting traffic. I'm not, right at the moment, that road is already so busy, and we're gonna have to reroute those people down Nemacoggin
Exactly.
Riverside.
And there's like some Riverside, like 2 or 3 really sharp angles that they're gonna do it too, which seems.
So the only other option is to not bypass Hayward and just not have people use that road? Why did we just do Wheeler Road?
Yeah.
And that's a feeder road all the way across.
I look at that, I look at it as an EMS problem also.
Yep.
You're
You better
cutting,
live it.
you're making your route
Access to the
for the
public.
fire department
Yeah.
probably 3 times farther than they would have to come now. That's gonna increase your insurances.
Mhm.
I have a question. What Wisconsin statute gave them the ability to bypass? What is the exact statute?
I hope I have that with me. If not, I will get it to you.
Or we can ask you tomorrow at the advisory meeting.
The other question I have is, I was kind of on board with this long before I was elected to chairman, or not chairman, but supervisor. And so I had kind of had a folder together, and one of the things that I wondered was, if a plane is too big to land in an airport, why does it land in that airport?
Exactly, exactly.
So then if so many planes that are too big to land in this airport, a certain number lands in it, then they're trying to say then we would be forced to expand the length of that airport to accommodate
They
for
should be
them.
landing,
Aren't they breaking the law?
they should be landing in Rice Lake.
Right, so he's got a 6,400-foot runway with all the hangars in the world.
That's exactly what
So
I'm saying,
according to that, the consultant, that question was asked, and I distinctly took the note, it is actually up to the pilot to determine if they feel safe landing at these airports.
This is
that are
what's nuts
operated
about
Smaller
this.
than their aircraft.
If we have 500 flights of a certain style of aircraft, certain size, that cannot operate at 100% from our runway length, then it starts adding up to the FAA saying we have to do something. I mean, when I realized that, it's nuts. Now, I'll say this, and I'm gonna be very careful, because I've only heard this anecdotally, but I have heard since the last airport meeting, when was the last airport meeting done, this advisory committee meeting? March? Okay, that I've heard that there are some people at the airport who are flying and taking off and landing immediately. Just a circle and
Yep.
add up
Yep.
the flight.
I'll test it.
So, well, I just heard anecdotally, I do not know, and I'm not gonna name any names. I'm just saying, so, again, I think it's crazy that it's decided on by the pilot to fly in there. So,
There's additional issues here in that we may speak very loudly in our voices here that we are not real thrilled about this expansion of the airport. There are some businesses in our community that would be benefited by, and we need to know who they are. And are they willing to step forward and explain why that's good? Because the runway goes right over my house. And all of those jets are flying over my house, and if I am, and yours too. So if my life is being impacted, I'd really like to know if maybe I should just move. You know, is that where we're going? If I don't like it, I should move.
and I don't think there's ever been a cost analysis of, or an economic impact study to show how much money the airport actually brings into the local community.
Yeah.
No one's ever looked into that, because I know there's a lot of private people who fly planes, but we don't know what it does to the actual local community. No one's ever looked into that. So I can imagine it benefits some local businesses, but how much and to what extent? We have no idea.
Is this something that the Northwest Regional Planning Commission could provide for us?
I do not know. And like I said, if we can ask the county to rezone this property and do this stuff, they can always just thumb their noses at us and say no. So it's kind of out of our hands, but. go ahead,
So they're not, they can't extend the length of the airport, the runway.
They are good.
Correct.
They are going to, they're planning.
Yeah.
The
So are they buying
plan is
Cooper's
that
house?
next year, they're gonna rebuild the runway as is, which then has a 10-year life. At the end of that 10 years, the plan would kick in for that portion of it, and they would extend it to 6,000 feet.
So where are they getting the land? Because there's only.
They've got the land.
So they acquired all the land on all those plans, because there are some plans at Plan 5, which we just came up with, was land that they had to
To the
acquire.
north,
Yep, and then the other stuff was for the runway to the, south or the east, was where they had to acquire land too, so that they acquired all the pieces of property they actually need to
I
expand.
don't know, I can't.
We'll ask
give you
tomorrow.
an answer on that.
We'll ask
Tomorrow. Their consultant comes back tomorrow and gives the final recommendation of the plans they had, and it's a new one. I
Yep,
mean,
and to the
we never
public works.
discussed closing Airport Road
Yep.
since 2002.
And there's the planning, the people they hired to do this, their mission is just to build airports.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, that's, yeah.
That is their mission.
They stated in their appraisal that they just, no cost, they didn't even bother with it. They had a paragraph that said, this big said, you know what, we're not even gonna look into the no
To the
cost action
benefit
plan, we're not,
of
no
our
one wants that, we're
shareholders.
just gonna
Not-
go for the plans,
Yes.
So I'd like to know the statutes,
I will get that to you.
because if it was affecting the residents that live within 300 feet, but they also didn't inform the town of Hayward.
Right.
They only have
And we're
to
another
inform you,
government.
they don't have to ask you to vote on it. So all they had to do was send the town of Hayward a notice that we're
Which
doing
they
this.
could have done.
Well, and from what I
If they
understand,
looked at-
legal counsel, Sawyer County legal counsel, from what I understand, legal counsel for Sawyer County told them they did not have to notify the town because they're rezoning.
Is there a benefit to the township directly from the use of the airport? Do we receive benefit financially?
No.
No, actually, we
I don't think the county
would
does.
have,
Absolutely
we
not.
would have received personal property taxes on those hangars, but personal property tax is no longer starting.
And now the county
And the
actually
county has
bills
all
them.
that property, so they actually won't even get taxed.
The county actually, the county got a tax bill this year for $3.2 million.
This year.
Yes, because
What's
the
on that
county
new
has to
property?
technically pay the taxes and then recuperate the portion from the hangar
Yes,
owners.
in fairness.
And Andy Alvarado sent me today, the yearly land leases. And again, the hangars, from what I understand, are owned by different people, but that's how much the land lease for the hangars are for those particular, that's those
It's
numbers.
very cheap.
I'm not gonna argue with you on that one.
Cheaper than
Yep.
a storage container.
Exactly.
They're not all big airplanes in there either.
So it does seem to like,
That's why they're saying they can't.
I don't know how much money the town gets from it, but I know the county taxpayers are losing money. So again, I understand about breaking even or running something, but again, this, and I don't know, what does the board think about asking the county these three things? Rezoning their property, that they rezoned in 2019, the cost analysis of a no action plan, and perhaps recommending they do the environmental assessment before they choose a plan as opposed to after.
I'd like to see the economic impact study.
Of what
Of
the
the
airport generates.
That's an entire county thing.
Yeah.
And so there are people out there, I want to know that it isn't just a recreational use.
Economic or environmental?
Both
We can,
economic and environmental
Marlene, we
study.
can ask the county if they have any of the economic stuff. 'Cause I know the environmental assessment hasn't been done yet.
And that should be made public.
I agree. So I would entertain a motion here to vote to recommend all three of these things to the county.
Is that on the agenda?
It's part C, D, and E. The rezone, and I gave you the particular property information, I believe, for the property, on the airport, the rezone from 2019, the cost analysis of a no action plan, and the, bringing up the idea of doing an environmental assessment before they choose a plan as opposed to after.
Does the town have to present them with a letter of
We're
course?
gonna have to say, yes, they're gonna get something, this is what's gonna start the process with the rezone.
Then
I've already talked to Jay Kozlowski and Andy Alvarado about this. This is what's gonna take to start the process. I know we will get a zoning committee meeting. I have no idea if we'll get any farther than that. But I know we can get that far, according to Jay Kozlowski.
I'll make that motion, but I would add the economic study
Add the economic study to it,
on number 8, yeah.
Okay.
Environmental and economic study.
environmental and economic. I'd entertain a second.
I'll say.
All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend to the county to rezone the property from 2019, to provide a cost analysis of no action plan at the airport, and to provide an environmental assessment before choosing a plan, and an economic study or some type of economic assessment for the county, or at least the city of Town of Hayward, something like that, before choosing a plan too. Is there any further discussion on this? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Here we go.
I do have one question, and I haven't looked, I printed this out in March, and I've had a lot on my plate since then, so. It's Wisconsin statute 66.1009, agreement to establish an airport affected area. Any county, town, city, or village may establish a written agreement with an airport defined in, so I would have to look at all the other statutes to know what it means. But I would assume you are in an airport affected area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, I would have to look, so that's why I want that statute.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'll look at these other
I'll bring it in
statutes
the room tomorrow.
before tomorrow.
Okay, we're good on there. Letter F real quick. September 30th, there was an invitation by Andy Alvarado, the county administrator, to the chair of the Story County to discuss issues, mostly about zoning issues. Carol actually attended too. Carol, do you have any comments about that meeting at all, or?
No, I thought it was well attended discussion.
I agree, and we hope that, there's another one, maybe in a couple months to follow up. The two things that did come out of it, potentially, would be that zoning is going to provide a clearer, kind of like a flow chart, hopefully online, for the towns and property owners, so everyone knows when they apply for a permit at the county, what's the process, and how long it's probably gonna take to get to a certain thing, just to clear up some things, and everyone knows that's gonna take time for our town planning commissions to be receiving stuff. That was kind of the discussion too, about cleaning up some of that stuff. Also, this multi-dwelling development, ordinance, it may be coming back around. Andy said it was dead, but then he said that it's coming back around, and he did mention that perhaps either the town chair or town board representative could be part of an ad hoc committee that would help deal with that legislation. So, we'll see what happens. The proof will be in the pudding, but I thought the meeting was well attended. I thought the discussion was very lively, and I would recommend that we have it again. It's nice to have some kind of communication between the towns and the county, and just kind of smooth out any wrinkles that may have showed up. So, are there any other questions or discussion about that? Okay, very good. Police commission, that's a discussion only again, from what I understand. We have a police commission, we don't have a fire committee or anything. There is some discussion about, back in May of 2014, we had people appointed to the police commission. We still have to double check to see if they're actually still on the commission appointed. I believe there was, and I may be wrong, I think there's a Wisconsin state statute that mentioned commissioner terms being no more than 5 years, so it had to be reappointed, but I mean, it didn't need a reappointment. I don't know if he's exactly looking at that part, but yes. Okay, but we'll clear that up too, so it's out there. You may make a comment.
Our ordinance uses the term committee, not commission.
Right.
Okay, that's what the ordinance says?
So there's a difference.
Yes, there is. Okay, and I guess when I
So
first
you
read it, I
need
thought it was
specific.
commission.
Also, the town of Hayward, due to our population size, is not required to have a commission. Those are 2 points I want to make.
Okay. We can talk about changing the police department ordinance too, with all the other ordinances that we need to update and modernize, so.
Wait until we see what the population of the township is next year.
Sure. Monthly vouchers. We've all signed those, I believe, right? Anyone, any comments on the monthly vouchers?
I just, I noticed that we spent $4,065 to L. Riley on 9/17, and I just think we can't keep that up.
Yeah, and see, that was a number I was aware of, was from 4,000 out to 7,000, and
This
that
was 1 month.
okay. Well, I will reiterate that there was a lot of confusion over the driveway ordinance and whether it could be enforced in a particular case, and confusion over the highway excavation ordinance, which deals with things that are put in the town road right away. So there were some ordinances that needed to be clarified by legal for a number of people. All right, budget review. Pre-budget meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess we take a motion to approve the vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the vouchers. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Vouchers pass. Budget review. Do we want to talk about the pre-budget meeting? Date and time? Okay, we'll talk about that under future agenda.
I'll just note again, our budget is 20,000 for legal expense, and we've already spent 17,000. So I think we need to be very discretionary about contacting you.
I agree. I guess I'm looking at it this way, that too, that since I've been here, we have a fire department with no ordinance. We have issues with certain contracts. We have issues with permits being issued in violation of the ordinances. There are a lot of questions that need to be proved through legal. And I'm just trying to do everything the right way to make sure everything, all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. And I do apologize if some of those have to go through legal, but that is the explanation for those. For my expenses.
Yes.
If we go over budget, I see it, we're at 104.76%. At the total of 519, where does that 4.76% come out of?
Well, because of our bottom line budget, if you look at the bottom line, it'll be higher. We're fine. That's just
Okay,
one.
we're still, so that it'll just be shifted over.
And I actually didn't know that, so I want to see your credits.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to have the ARPA funds be put on the November agenda because we have a deadline of December 31st to have it either in contract or spent, or we will lose it and have to pay it back. I don't want to do that.
We have a loan on our truck, right?
We have to pay the loan.
Possibly use it
So
there.
we probably should use it to buy some, but can't do that now. I asked that question to the free legal at Wisconsin Town Association. And, do we need a motion?
That's good. It'll be on the agenda.
Can we approve the budget and then future
Oh,
agenda
sorry.
items?
Sorry.
Do we need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve budget.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the budget. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Future agenda items. ARPA funds on the November meeting.
So far, I have fire department ordinance, private ordinance, discussion, possible action, and volunteer firefighter funds.
Okay, we want to talk about the pre-budget meeting date too right now, or no? We had a pre-budget meeting here, a hearing scheduled for tomorrow at 5 PM, workshop. But due to the airport meetings at 4 PM and 6:30 PM, we thought it'd be best to push that back so the town board and any residents who may have been at one meeting could attend the other and vice versa. So, I think the only day next week, you said 16th, you're doing a.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 16th is probably the only day next week that we're saying doesn't work for sure. So,
It's the only day that does not.
does not work.
15th works the best, because the 17th
Right.
is potentially that too.
Correct.
Right, so yeah, the 14th or 15th, probably the 15th is Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah.
So 14th or 15th would probably be the best.
And we'll see at the 15th.
How does that sound with everyone else? 10:15?
Yeah, I should be able to.
5 PM again? Okay. So 15th of October at 5 PM for the pre-budget workshop. Any, yes,
The police,
as soon as everything's cleared by legal, then we can have it on the agenda.
You just said police.
I sent an email, I think I sent an email out to everyone.
Can I put those things down so that,
Well,
so
yeah,
the police,
as soon,
which things?
well, I was talking about the job description, the contract, I imagine, and as soon as everything has been cleared with legal, that would be clear to be put on the
I'm
agenda.
just asking what items.
I believe the job description,
would
the
also
contract.
like a special meeting of the board to discuss amongst ourselves. Well, employee, I don't know the statute, 19.85, I don't know which number it is.
Depends what we're talking about.
So we can go over previously what legal is looking at now and discuss amounts and timeframes. And have the opportunity, because the last time it was kind of a run and gun thing, where we heard about it. And it was like put on the agenda right away. I didn't have time to thoroughly research
Yeah, no, exactly.
certain things. So I would like to request that we have a special meeting so we can discuss that.
We'll cross that bridge once we get the information back from legal, and then we'll set a time and date for that.
Because I am also going on vacation and I would like to be here for those things.
We will try to make that work.
And Harold also.
Well, obviously, especially something like that important, we want to make sure that every member of the board is able to do that. Okay, anything else? Future agenda items? All right, well, if I don't have any complaint or any other discussion, I entertain a motion to adjourn this October 19th board meeting. All right. All those in favor of adjournment?
Yeah. Well, like, you don't live there anymore, so we're still up, we're over at the park place. Yeah, it's not here in my bag. Hey, how are you? Good, how are you? Good.